For decades, we've pretty much thought of cancer as a disease of broken genes. But what if there's another force at play? Something more fundamental. Today, we're exploring a shocking new idea, that the secret to fighting breast cancer might not just be genetic, but electric.
So why do we even need a new approach? Well, the scale of this problem is just massive. In 2020 alone, a staggering 2.3 million people were diagnosed with breast cancer. That makes it the most common cancer in the world. And for so long, our fight has been aimed almost entirely at one thing: faulty genes.
And that one question? It's kicking off a huge shift in cancer research. It suggests that maybe we need to look beyond the genetic code and start understanding the very electrical currents that power our cells.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to talk about something fundamental to every single cell in your body, and that's its membrane potential.
I want you to think of it like a tiny rechargeable battery inside every one of your cells. But this voltage isn't just about power. Nope, it's more like a fundamental instruction signal. It tells a cell when to grow, when to divide, and even when to die. The exact processes that go haywire in cancer.
So in a healthy cell, it's all about rhythm. The electrical charge goes through this really predictable cycle. As a cell gets ready to divide, its voltage goes up. That's called depolarization. Then afterwards, it drops right back down to a resting state. It's a perfectly controlled cycle of life.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. Cancer cells, well, they have a broken electrical switch. They get stuck in the on position, this state of permanent depolarization. And researchers are now thinking this isn't just a side effect of the cancer. It might be the very electrical signal that's driving its nonstop growth.
And this chart, man, it just lays it all out. Look at the difference here. A healthy cell, like a neuron, keeps a strong negative charge way down at minus 70 millivolts. But a breast cancer cell, it's way, way less negative. And that's not just a tiny blip, it's a fundamental rewiring of the cell's entire operating system.
So the big question is, what's causing this electrical meltdown inside cancer cells? How does that cellular battery get short-circuited? To figure that out, we've got to look at the machinery that runs the cell's power grid.
All right, to figure out what's broken, let's first take a quick look at how the system is supposed to work. A cell's power grid has a few key players that keep its delicate electrical balance in check.
You've got a few key systems here, from ion channels to mitochondria, and they all have to work together perfectly to keep things healthy and stable. But in cancer, this whole finely tuned machine just goes completely off the rails. Let's break down how. First up, you've got these things called ion channels. Think of them like tiny gates that control the flow of charged particles in and out of the cell. In breast cancer, these gates are basically busted. Some get stuck open, or the cell just makes way too many of them. The result is a flood of positive ions into the cell, creating that depolarized state that screams, grow and spread. Then there's calcium. It's like the master messenger inside the cell. Healthy cells are super careful about keeping calcium levels perfectly balanced, using this whole complex system of pumps and channels. But cancer cells, they hijack the whole system, creating a calcium overload that acts like a constant green light for growth and survival.
And we can't forget the mitochondria. Yep, the powerhouses of the cell. They have their own powerful electrical charge. While cancer cells are clever, they actually manipulate this mitochondrial voltage to do two things. First, to ignore the signals that tell them it's time to die, and second, to generate the extra energy they need to invade other tissues.
But it's not just about what's happening inside one rogue cell. It's also about how those cells talk or stop talking to their neighbors. See, healthy cells are team players. They're constantly chatting with their neighbors through these little channels called gap junctions. These create a direct line, letting a whole community of cells share electrical signals and keep a stable, healthy voltage across the entire group.
And this is where that communication breakdown is absolutely critical. Cancer cells just shut these lines down. They go dark. And once they're electrically isolated, they completely ignore the stop growing signals from their neighbors, which lets them multiply totally out of control.
So this diagram here, it really brings everything together. You can see how the ion channels on the outside, the calcium being released on the inside, the mitochondria doing their thing, and the signals coming from other cells all feed into each other. It's this complex tangled web, and when it breaks, it creates the specific electrical signature of a cancer cell.
Okay, so that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? If cancer is an electrical problem, can we find an electrical solution? Is it actually possible to rewire a cancer cell and force it back to being healthy?
Well, this new perspective is opening up some really exciting new battlefronts. Scientists are working on drugs to block the specific ion channels that are going crazy in cancer. They're exploring ways to directly zap the cell's voltage back to normal. And they're even designing therapies to mess with the unique way cancer cell mitochondria make energy.
And that, right there, is the real promise of all this. Because these electrical quirks are unique to cancer cells, we could create treatments that are incredibly precise. It's like having a key that only fits the cancer cell lock, letting us shut them down while leaving healthy cells totally unharmed.
Okay, so the journey from a cool idea in a lab to an actual treatment in a clinic is, it's a long road. But the potential here is just massive. So what's next?
Right now, the big push is to get a better handle on all these complex electrical circuits. At the same time, researchers are racing to develop new imaging that can let us actually see these electrical changes happening inside a patient. The ultimate goal? That's the dream of personalized medicine, creating treatments that are tailor-made for the unique electrical signature of a person's individual tumor.
So could the future of how we fight cancer be electric? Thinking about cancer this way, not just as a disease of genes, but as a disease of haywire electricity, it's a huge shift. It doesn't throw out everything we know about genetics, no way. It just adds this powerful, completely new layer to it. And that new layer might just provide the spark for the next generation of life-saving therapies.